After 15 years, we finally have a new LEGO Star Wars ARC-170 Starfighter, and in this review, we're going to find out if it was worth the wait. Its set number is 75402 with 497 pieces, and its retail price is $70, a price that many people contend is too high. We've got 4 minifigs in this one, but notably absent to many people is a Jedi, and I've definitely got some thoughts on that, but we'll save those because first I want to talk about the box art, because it shows the ARC-170 flying on Cato Nemoidia with Plo Koon's Starfighter in the background, making this really feel like an Order 66 set, which is something that LEGO stayed away from for the longest time, but I love that it's somewhat represented here, even if it's solely through the box art. Something interestingly wrong with this box art, though, is that they use the 332nd Trooper and the orange stripe, when this is technically a Skywalker Saga set. It's from Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and therefore it should have Darth Vader in the corner and the blue stripe. It's just flat out wrong there. Now, the back of the box shows the ARC-170 landed in a hangar, which looks pretty cool, as well as highlights a couple of the play features. Nothing crazy going on back there. Now, let's open it up. I frankly couldn't believe my eyes for a couple of reasons when I finally got into this one. First off, massive sticker sheet, just so many stickers for this $70 set. I recently built the 2005 ARC-170, brand new sealed in box, all printed parts. Meanwhile, this set has 16 stickers. The other surprising thing to me was the paper bags. This is my first experience with them, and consider the environment saved. We've also got our instruction manual, just standard LEGO instruction manual, you know the drill. Going in depth on the minifigs for this ARC-170, we've got 3 pilots. That'll give you 1 for every seat in the ship, plus your astromech droid, and the astromech droid RP-444 here is really nice. The real downside is that he doesn't have back printing. LEGO's been giving R2-D2 back printing for the past few years, but that has yet to be carried over to any of the other astromech droids, so big L there from LEGO. But if you don't care about them cheaping out on back printing, this is otherwise a very nice figure. Now, to the 3 clone pilots in this set, these are the nicest clone troopers that we have had in 3 years. I'm shocked how good LEGO made these. All of them have one flaw, I would say, and that's that they didn't use dual molded legs. Not that they necessarily had to have it or needed to have it, but man, would it have been a nice little extra thing to make these pilots quite literally perfect if they had dual molded legs. Outside of that minor complaint, all of these are still very good, and the only thing unique between each clone trooper is the helmet. So the torso, the legs, the head print, it's all the same. The helmet is the only differentiator between them, which obviously makes sense. First up, we've got Oddball here. He's got the predominantly black helmet, and it looks really good. Great detail on him. Then we've got clone pilot Jag, looking very nice with the blue and black accents on the helmet. And finally, we have a regular clone pilot, not named, also with a great unique looking helmet that has a really nice color to it. I also love the face print on these clone troopers. They've given them the orange visor printed on. So you've got a great crew for your ARC-170 Starfighter here, and I think the figures in this set are fantastic. Now, while I'm quite satisfied with what you see here, there was definitely a large contingency of people out there that wanted to see a Jedi included in this ARC-170, and I think that stems from the 2010 set having included Kit Fisto. Now, that one came at a cost because you didn't get 3 clone pilots, but what I think LEGO should have done here was add in a Jedi figure, especially because on the box art, they show off Plo Koon's Starfighter, and I think having Plo Koon included in this set just would have felt right. I'll expand on this idea at the end of the review, but I don't think having that figure here is asking for too much. Now, let's talk about the build. To say I'm quite disappointed with the finished product would probably be fairly accurate. I honestly feel like we got catfished here. It just looks better on the box. I think this build has 4 pretty obvious issues, and we'll break them down one by one, starting with the cannons. They're tiny. I don't know what they were thinking, but in my opinion, it looks flat out ridiculous. It should be about twice the length that we see represented here. Plus, they completely nixed the top cannon in favor of a spring-loaded shooter, but we all kind of saw that coming. Unsullied by spring-loaded shooters, which they would certainly have put on here if this set was made in 2020, and I kind of fear for the future of a remake of this set. Now, even having thought for a while that this set would have spring-loaded shooters there doesn't mean that it looks good. It looks as atrocious as I had imagined it would, and it looks so much worse because the bottom cannon, like I said, is way too short. Here I've replaced the cannons with the 2010 ARC-170's cannons, and you can see it already makes the set look 10 times better. Switching it back now, I have one more complaint. The brown tip for these blasters also looks dumb to me. I looked at as much source material as I could, and maybe you can make a case that sometimes you can kind of see a hint of some rusty color, but I don't think brown looks good. I think they should have kept it black like it was in 2010. It's a compounding issue here. You've made it too short, you removed one of them, and you made it the wrong color. Like, just brutal. The next not so great thing about this build is the windscreen sticker pieces. First off, you got to be really careful applying these. You can get your fingerprints on there. You can end up with a lot of bubbles. It can look really bad if you aren't extra careful applying the stickers. The other problem is that the color First off, looks nothing like it does in the box. This is another blatant false advertising thing by LEGO. They do this all of the time. I've complained about this directly to LEGO. They don't care about our opinions. They just don't care. But it is falsely advertised. That is a knock against this set. It looks awful on the actual set. The other part of the deal here is this issue is new. If you look at the 2010 ARC-170, the sticker is just about perfectly white, like the white of the brick. It matches. It actually matches, like the box makes you think it would match on this newer set. It's insane to me that LEGO continues to make things like that worse and worse. I mean, this is horrible looking compared to what we used to have. Another unfortunately ugly part of this ARC-170 is on the back where the rear cannons are, and it looks like it's just missing a piece. Like, for whatever reason, they've left a gaping hole at the back of the ARC-170. I looked at the source material, definitely no gaping hole at the back of the ARC-170, so looks bad, is bad, inaccurate, bad for all of the reasons. There's no saving grace for that. The last really bad thing about this ARC-170, of course, before we talk about some of the highlights, is its size, in that it's so much smaller than the previous ARC-170 models. Now, of course, if we wanted it to be bigger, the set would have been more expensive, and so it is a bit of a give and take there, but I think the biggest issue I have with the size of this ARC-170 is that they downsized the length of it by about 3 studs, but the width of the ARC-170 is about 14 or so studs less. So the proportions on this thing are way off. Like, the cannons already proportionally are wrong, right? We got that. But like the actual wing to body ratio is way off on this thing. And so is the paint job for the wings of the ARC-170. The dark red portion of the wings is the same size as it was in 2010. Meanwhile, they shrunk down the white portion on each wing by about 33%, meaning it looks way off compared to what it's actually supposed to look like from the movie. Like, they just did a bad job there. It's just really unfortunate that LEGO had a slam dunk of a set here to make, and they just took certain aspects of it and made them so much worse than what we've seen in the past. When it comes to things this ARC-170 build does well, there are a few, the first of which being stability. This is a super stable model, not a lot of rattling going on, doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart in my hands. Not necessarily that the older 2 models felt like they'd fall apart in my hands, but there was a lot more rattling if you shook it around. I really don't think you could grab it by the nose like this so well. Like, there were definitely some downsides to those older models, and because this one's smaller, it's a little bit more compact, it is more stable. Now, that obviously comes at a price, but the stability is definitely a highlight. I also really like the mechanism that opens up the S-foils into attack position. You can see that during the build, it's quite an intricate design on the inside of the ARC-170, but you can't really see any of that once the build is finished. All you have to do is push in on this piece here, and they open right up, and then you push right back on the other side, and they close right up. And so on some of the older models, it could take 4 or 5 seconds to open the wings, and now it's literally instant. I just don't think there's any denying that this is a vast improvement in the functionality of the ARC-170 here. I think this is really great. The downside that seems to come with this design, though, is that the bottom of the ARC-170 is incredibly blocky. On the previous versions, they would be nicely sloped under here. It would actually be kind of satisfying to hold the ARC-170 at the bottom here. With this newer design, it feels like you could just accidentally rip the plates off the bottom because of the way that it's built. Like, I really don't think that that is the greatest thing ever down there. It certainly doesn't look the greatest ever. So they've got like the elements of what it should be, but without some of the finer detail that maybe the older versions had. So yeah, this bottom middle section, a little too blocky for me, but it's probably the least important section to look good on the ship because it's the part you see the least. Moving up to the nose area, I think it looks really great on this set. They've really detailed it nicely with some of the mixture of color there. Even the lime green on the bottom here, I think looks great. And you've basically got no gap on the front of the ARC-170 here. They use some great building techniques to achieve this on the inside. I think it's a really cool part of the build, and it definitely works out nicely as far as the look on the outside. Back over to our S-foils, you'll actually find some of the only printed parts on the set with these big circular pieces. They split it in the middle so that it has the proper red section on the left and the white on the inside, and I feel like they only printed these because it had to be on a round piece, because you'll see the Republic logo on the inside. There's also 4 of those in this set. They put a sticker because it's on a square piece. For whatever reason, I think at some point they stopped using stickers for rounded pieces. I'm not 1000% sure on that, but there's no other reason that they would not have used a sticker on this piece here. But if we look on the underside of the wings is just as detailed, which is great to see. And I suppose while I'm down here, you can see some of those inverted tiles. And I actually almost forgot to show, there is another sticker detail on the inside of the ARC-170 here. So not necessarily something you had to have there, but the extra mile for detail, whether it's a sticker or not, is appreciated. I think the engines on this build are very nice. They feel appropriately sized. The color is nice. And you've actually got an ice skate piece used to detail the inside there. And the translucent pink for the thrust will never not look good on an ARC-170. Now, the rear turret, I actually like the design for. I think they both look very nice. I just don't like the gaping hole in the middle. I think that looks bad, like we said. But the ball joint was a good idea because it allows them to be stationary and they don't just flop around like the previous ARC-170s did. And they're allowed to be moved independently, which is something that I believe is correct to the movie and the show. Now, opening up the gunner's seat at the back of the ARC-170, of course, is a breeze. There is unfortunately no control panel or any type of detailing on the inside here. It's, you know, just bland. Grabbing one of our pilots here, he will attach the studs at the bottom very easily, lean right back and put his hands down, and you can close that cockpit windscreen piece very easily and then reopen it when you want to remove him. Now we'll open up this next section and you'll see there's actually a print inside. Now I do really like that the accent color as well is in the blue, which is really accurate to what we see on the ARC-170 for some of their heads-up displays and controls and things, so I like that. Now this print I believe is from like Lego City, but at the very least it's blue, so it's something. It may not be a Star Wars unique printed control panel, but yeah, like they got the color there, so you know, it's nice enough, I suppose. Although in 2005 we did get Star Wars unique control panels, so maybe that should be a complaint. We'll drop another clone pilot into that seat there, push him back, and that is where you might notice we have a bit of a problem. This is something that really wasn't a problem with the previous ARC-170s, but if you put the pilots into this ARC-170, you can no longer place in or take out R4P44. You have to put him in or take him out with no pilots in the seats. This simply was not an issue on older ARC-170 models, of course, because they were larger, but now with this smaller size, you lost a couple of studs, and you've got to remove your pilots if you want to place in or remove your astromech droid. I think that is just a pain in the butt. There we go, with everything in there, it is fairly tight. You can see they are really close to the astromech. I mean, they're touching the astromech droid. I shouldn't even just say they're really close. I mean, it's a tight little area. I think obviously this is the minimum size that it can be at this point, and yeah, they took away every square inch they could. Then finally we have this front cockpit piece. You've got another printed piece on the inside there. It's just one of those control panels that we've seen a ton, and this one, unlike the rear ones, is a tiled off interior, so that's nice. We'll add in our final clone pilot there, lay him back, put his arms down, and he fits in nicely as well. I almost forgot, I noticed this while building. There's a great like curved piece here that fits perfectly for this windscreen piece, and it makes the transition super smooth going from windscreen to body and then further back. Like, I just really like this little section on the ship. So was the 2025 ARC-170 worth the wait? Well, I would argue no. This model is super compromised. Obviously, in a lot of places, it is worse than previous ARC-170s. I think this is just another reminder that gone are the days of Lego Star Wars models always being improvements over the previous versions. Like, there are some ways where this model is better, and I explained it in this video, but there's a lot of ways where it's not. I think on the whole, this is a downgrade from any of the prior ARC-170s. So I think if you own either of the older ones, there's no reason to buy this one. I mean, the figures are nice. Yes, the figures are a reason to buy it, but you could also just buy the figures separately. But if you're talking about the ARC-170 itself, it's not a buy if you own any of the prior ones. Now, I think the more common scenario might be that you don't already own an ARC-170 and Lego now makes one, and this is your only option because the other options are many hundreds of dollars potentially. And so for $70, I don't think you should be buying it for full price. I think you have to wait for a sale, as much as I feel like I sound like a broken record saying that. Now, there's two things I really wish we would have seen from this set. First off is just a better ARC-170 straight up, a little bit bigger. $10, $20 more of money into it would have gone a long way for this model. Instead of paying $70 for like a half-baked ARC-170, paying $80 or $90 for a full ARC-170, I think more people would have been on board with. But I also think this would have been an even cooler set if it was a combo set with Plo Koon Starfighter to fully recreate that Order 66 scene that they represent on the box. Then you get your Plo Koon minifigure, you also get his astromech droid, and then you're looking at 6 figures for somewhere around $110, and Lego's done a lot of those combo sets recently. I'm not really sure why this one and Plo Koon's together was not something that they went for. Considering the downsized, compromised nature of this ARC-170, I want to give it a pretty low rating, but at the same time, I support good Lego Clone Trooper minifigures, and you don't see those a lot these days, so it's a tough one. $70, I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10, and I feel like a 6 might be more fitting because the ARC-170 is just so bad in so many places and false advertising, and yeah, but the clones are nice and the ARC-170 generally looks nice, just if you know what the source material looks like. That fantasy doesn't really hold up for long. If this set was $60, fair enough, but for 70, I do think it needed a little something more, whether it was size or a Plo Koon minifig. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments section below. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed, and you can check out more 2025 Lego Star Wars set reviews on the end screen now.